Hello, welcome to Faces with Columbus City Schools. The holiday season is here. Family and community traditions are celebrated, grocery stores and retail shelves are empty, and millions of people are glued to their computer with dozens of items in their shopping carts waiting for the extra markdown.
Yes, my friend. I call it HoliDaze. The anxiety of what to get sets in, who to invite, what to buy, what can we buy, who's staying where. It can be a cyclone of joy and pain.
Did you know, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, 64% of people actively struggle with mental illness say that holidays make their conditions worse.
That is why we're here. Our goal is to gain insights from mental health experts on how to navigate the holidays and emerge to the new year stronger.
Hi everyone, it's Gina McDowell again. Today we're here to talk about how to teach our kids the joys of giving back at the holidays. Even though we generally think of the holidays as a really exciting and happy time, it can kind of be stressful for some of us. We are seeing lots of people that we might not see throughout the year, and sometimes there are a lot of people at some of our social events, so it can be a change in our routine, creating a little bit of stress. So luckily, giving back has been shown to actually help combat this stress, and it's been shown to give us a bunch of other health benefits too. So a few of them that we've seen are increasing self-esteem and a sense of purpose. Giving back has actually been shown to help decrease stress, and it also has been known to increase self-confidence and actually leading to other positive behaviors as well. There's part of an old Chinese proverb that says, if you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Why not teach our kids this valuable lesson? Talk with your kid to see if there's a place that they would like to volunteer or if there is a certain charity that they would like to donate to. There are also some other really great ideas if you check out the blog post below. Whatever it is you choose, know that you are teaching your child a valuable lesson here at the HoliDaze. So let us know what you come up with. We would love to hear from you. Leave your ideas in the comment section below. So don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Happy holidays.
Welcome to the Faces Roundtable. Today we have two amazing panelists who are joining us. So we would like to welcome Dr. Kay, Vice President of Advocacy and Engagement of Adam H. Her career is in behavioral health and human services, providing inpatient psychiatric care to youth and adults, and has a wealth of experience working with persons diagnosed with severe and non-severe mental illness and substance abuse disorders.
We also have Pia Fitzgerald, who is a former educator, health and wellness advocate, and the CEO of Wow Factor. She's worked with school districts to promote and advocate for mental, emotional, and the well-being of students and staff alike. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
And I wish I had my bell, right? You love your bell.
I have it.
So basically, we have a 360-degree view from our babies to our families of mental health and wellness. According to a recent 2021 NAMI survey, 3 in 5 Americans feel that their mental health is negatively impacted by the holidays. As you know, we are moving into that time. And in today's environment, more people will also be grieving someone or something during this time.
So let's go ahead and dive right in. I will ask both of you, how do you define mental health and what does that mean?
So I like to define mental health in 2 different ways. So first of all, we all have mental health, because sometimes I hear people say, I don't have a mental health, where in fact you actually do. So mental health, described in 2 ways, is our thoughts or our cognitions, and then the second part of that is our behavior. So what are we doing? So everyone has a mental health if they have thoughts and cognitions and they have behaviors that explain what they are doing. The point to where it comes from a mental health concern to a mental illness concern is when the behaviors or the life experiences of that person is having a significant impact on their ability to live, to laugh, and to love. So that's how I explain mental illness.
I'd love to hear your take on it.
So I actually really don't even use mental health. Even I agree with Dr. K. When I talk about this, I talk about well-being, which is the total person, talking about every aspect of what makes us us. You talked about our behavior, our thoughts, spiritual, our physical, relational, the total well-being. So that's usually what I focus on.
Mm-hmm. So what do you both feel like, why this time? What is it about this time of the year, the holidays? What are those triggers and stressors that bring about such stress?
It could be anything, honestly. Everybody's life is completely different. Our family lives are different. The communities that we live in may be different. How we were raised is likely different. The experiences that we had coming up, through elementary school, middle school, high school. For some people, those were great years. I mean, they were involved in sports, maybe they played an instrument, maybe having really good, healthy, close relationships with their families. So for those folks coming into the holiday season, it might be okay. Okay, if they still have those same really deeply rooted connections with their friends at school, their families, maybe even their teacher in the classroom. But on the other side of that, some of those same life experiences could contribute to what's known as trauma. And so when trauma is there, it certainly makes it far more difficult for that person to engage, for them to speak, for them to want to be around other folks. And then there could be some other things, again, from childhood that a child may have experienced with a family member. And so bringing everybody back together in that space can be positive for those who's got really great relationships, but then it could also be not so good of an experience to someone who does not have that established relationship.
I'm going to add a little bit to that as well, because you talk about when people are coming back, there's often expectations. And even before that, so there's these narratives that play out as we get ready for the holidays. And, a thought is only a belief that you have, that you keep thinking over and over again, whether it be true or not. But if it's your perception, it's your reality, right? Yeah. So if you're playing this narrative over and over again, whether it be true or not, and then you start to develop these expectations, and maybe you are expecting this time to be better, but you go into the holidays and then the expectation is unmet. And then here we go again. See, oh wow, now I knew it. This was going to just be a horrible time. So I think a lot of it is people might be having some anxiety, or will my expectations be met this time? Will my narrative that it's playing over, they don't say narrative, but it's the story that we tell ourselves, is that going to actually come into fruition? The other part, actually on a practical level, the time is changing, and we often don't honor our circadian rhythms, which is simply our body has an internal clock, and it's getting dark, and yet we want to act like it's still sunny at 7, and we wonder why we're struggling. Well, your body really is changing along with the time, and you're fighting against yourself, and you don't even realize it. We should be doing more resting, and yet we're not, and then we wonder why there's this clash. So from a practical standpoint, we just need to honor that the body clock and the weather and the season. So that brings anxiety as well.
And give yourself some grace, right? In that space of the fact that everything is changing. I sent a message, I think, to my family just the other day that specifically said that. Look outside, it's 5 o'clock. And it does have a significant, thank you for bringing that up, change in your mood cycle. It can happen to anybody. So you layer a mental illness or an addiction on top of a regular change, it's very confounding.
So both of you bring up a good point. How do we
be able to live? Maybe that just means like going to work, for example. I have to keep a roof over my head, so I gotta, I'm living, but I'm struggling. And then to laugh, like most people who suffer from, depression, sometimes anxiety, really like to isolate themselves from other people. So if they're not engaged in activities that would otherwise have made them happy or excited, that's something to be, concerned about as well in that particular space. So.
Good tips, thank you.
So I heard you kind of touch on a couple of these things that we're going to move into, but it's really, really important to lift them up in this space so that we really call them out. We have to name some things. And so when we're thinking about those physical signs of being depressed or having anxiety, what are some things for us to really start to think about if we are experiencing maybe for the first time and or we've been experiencing, we don't know what they are, or to watch out for our family.
Google is a great place to start if you are looking to understand more about the signs and symptoms of truly any mental illness. From a diagnostic perspective, connecting with a youth or their adult or their family, some things that I would want to know regarding depression is how they're moving about their day. If not, are they isolating themselves? Are they tearful? Are they stoic? Kind of flat in their expression? Are they just kind of moving through the day? Not much communication with anyone at all, like no text, no anything. At work, their behavior is going to spill over. There's a personal and there's a professional, but when it comes to mental illness, things spill over into the professional. So even educating, organizations, companies, and things like that on how to recognize signs and symptoms of depression are really key to be able to support them where they are. As far as anxiety goes, and I've shared that I suffer from an anxiety disorder, that anxiety is really just a compilation of unrealistic fears that exist. So you basically spend your whole day going, what if this, what if that, did I do this, did I do that, is somebody mad at me, did that happen over here? Your brain is always going in that perspective. From a physical perspective, including that, because we talked about cognitions then equal behavior, is that behaviorally you might start to feel weird in your body. You might start having sweats, you might start having clammy hands, you might feel like your heart is racing. That would be leaning more toward of a panic attack, but it's possible to feel like that. And if it's not a panic, it still could be everyday ongoing living with anxiety, but then going to counseling like I do to work on that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
So I'm gonna start with the seasonal affective disorder. That's what we were talking about with this changing of the thing. So for me, I remember one year I didn't realize what that was, but I was crying but I had no reason to be sad. My life was amazing, but I was crying and I didn't have enough energy, but it was around this time of the year. And I got so bad that one day I had to, this is when I was teaching, so this was several years ago, but I had to have my principal come down and take over my class. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And that particular year, my doctor wrote me off for the rest of the school year, but it came back again, and that's when I was like, wait a minute. Then I looked up, Google was like, hold on, what's going on? And then that's when we recognized that it was seasonal, okay? So the energy and just feeling some kind of way when this doesn't even match up with there's no evidence of why I should be sad. Right. And yet I'm struggling, so I would say that. And another personal example, not even having to do with seasonal, when you do, so my spouse, who is a therapist, and this is critical to know, because he's taking in other people's stuff over and all day, but he was not taking care of himself. He was also a caregiver for me who was sick, and my mother who had dementia. Caregiver for both of us and taking in everybody's stuff, but was not taking care of himself, his mental health. That's what I mean by himself. He snapped. And so a person who you're used to cracking jokes, always laughing, it was hard for him to smile, which was so unlike him. He couldn't, it was too much. He broke. So when you're noticing different personality changes, people who would love to laugh, normally laugh, they struggle to even laugh. Those are signs, But I wanted to highlight the fact of not getting the help because he's taking care of everyone else. It was too much. You can only hold so much.
Compassion fatigue.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. That's literally the definition of compassion fatigue.
And he, broke. So, I mean, he's better today, but it was rough.
What amazing conversation we're having and personal experiences, because we often don't know if we're experiencing these things, but I started to notice even in myself as the seasons started to change. And so it's important that you lifted up that you may have an amazing life in people may think that you have things that are going well, but you internally sometimes can be suffering. And so it's important to lift that and to really pay attention. And then I love that you talked about compassion fatigue, because that is a real thing.
Yeah.
And we can spend so much time exerting energy for everyone else that we, like you said, are not taking care of ourselves. So thank you.
And he's
Those things.
an expert in the field.
The key to what
that's the key.
The key to what you said was that he was taking it all in. And that is the definition of compassion fatigue. When you absorb all the world around you, your clients' lives, and you find it hard to like operate on a daily basis because you're so weighted by your entire caseload. Yeah, at that sense. But still trying to provide, quality services to those who need them.
The helpers still need help.
That's right.
That's
right.
it. Yep.
Yes, yes. So we're talking about adults and those physical signs and symptoms. I want to pivot just a little to thinking about our teens and children and what signs they sometimes show that could be exhibited in our classrooms or at home that we just may not know, right? We talk about root cause or why certain things are happening. We don't always know what the root cause is. So what are some signs that children or teens may exhibit when they're struggling?
So I would say, if I can think back on recent years where I've seen young adults, so coming literally right out of that teen or high school space, and things that have been noticed by their family because that's who's reaching out, is a lot of that isolation. And I mean isolation for weeks, right? So that is clearly a sign. Another thing regarding youth, their families, it's hard to separate. I always say youth are connected to adults. So when I talk about youth, it's hard for me to not consider the fact that they are connected to an adult that's responsible for their overall health and healing at that particular point. But I think that noticing those things like isolation, again, if they don't want to do something that they normally, like field hockey, oh my gosh, this is so fun, like I'm the captain of the team, and then all of a sudden I stop. I don't want to do that anymore. Are there any signs of bullying, that may be happening at the school? How and why is the child being isolated? Are they only doing that at home, but at school they're having a great time? So many of these behaviors can speak to so many things, but we don't want to assume, but they should be, at the very least, recognized. But I would say, honestly, the isolation piece is completely drawing back and not engaging in anything, especially if it's something that, man, this brought you joy, that they're no longer doing that. We don't know why. Was there a fight on the schoolyard? Were you being bullied? Do you feel like you're not getting enough from school? Parents and adults have to be able to have those sensitive conversations with the youth and their family just so that they can be supportive. And then if something happens, they have the support of their family member to reach out to, their trusted adult, like a coach or a teacher, when they start to not feel so well. And I'll give a similar example. A colleague of mine is a school teacher in a completely different space here in Ohio, but she decided to go out to lunch with the kids. They were like second graders because she didn't do lunch duty, and they said, hey, you didn't do lunch duty, you have to come out for us. So she goes out for them, she stands and she's watching how play is happening, and a 2-year-old comes up to her and says, can you go talk to my friend over there? She looks like she's struggling emotionally. I think she needs support.
Wow.
Our youth are brilliant.
That's true. Yeah.
They are being exposed to language, emotional regulation skills that we were not taught. So for a 2-year-old to come up to an adult and use that verbiage for their friend to get help, that is quite significant. So that's another reason why we have to listen to our youth when they are talking and listen to what's not being said.
Yes.
And listen to what's not being said.
You said bully a couple times, and I'm wondering, would you say bully is also probably the acting out is a sign of some depression or something going on?
It's possible. So irritation, getting really irritable for really any reason at all, that could feed in to a behavior like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about, you mentioned a couple things that, that children now have in their lives. And when I think about when we grew up, right, when we came up, we didn't have this almighty social media.
No.
These cell phones, all of these things. So talk to me about how has social media impacted mental health?
Repetition. If you're seeing the same kinds of things over and over again, the same kind of messaging over and over again, And if it's not giving you life, or if it's causing these thoughts where you're constantly questioning yourself, doubting yourself, and you're seeing constant images that make you doubt and question yourself, you are rewiring your brain. Every time and you're reinforcing it whenever you see images that continue to solidify this message that you should doubt yourself, you know? And so I would say that's the constant looking at messages that don't feed you. You are rewiring your brain to basically say you're not worthy. So yeah, social media has a lot of value, right? But when it's not balanced with the right messaging, when there's not enough of a break, I think that can just be harmful, just because of how the brain works, neuroplasticity. So that's my one comment, and that's for children, adults, all of us, you know. So.
Yeah, I definitely think that social media has reached a pinnacle point now that, again, we did not have exposure to at all. So there are really great things on social media in the space of mental health, and I see those things and I'm like, oh, this is really great. But there are things that are out there that should really just not be fed into, given energy to. And I love how you said, if it starts to mess with how you see yourself and creates that false reality around you, then that is definitely something that should be looked into. Again, parents, I know there's a lot of parental guides on these different social media accounts, but I can't remember the average amount of time that you spend on, just social media. I mean, not putting your phone down, not engaging with other people. So my hope is that as we see things on social media that do touch on that space of mental health, that they will always be positive, that they will always be destigmatizing in a way that helps to move us forward as a society.
So thank you. Thinking about resources now. So, we've identified a lot of different areas, some signs to look for. Both of you know that typically the school is the hub for a lot of resources for families. They come seeking social workers and our school counselors for help. But when school is out, right? So we have a couple of major timepieces that are coming up. Wellness Week, we're out for a week. Winter break, we're out for 2 weeks. Where are some resources beyond the school that our families can look for in terms of mental health in the community?
I would say some things are already there. She talked about laughing. Go to bed laughing. Don't go to bed off of a drama. Start with just finding something to laugh at together or just by yourself. That laughter is medicinal. There's healing properties in the laughter. Games. Connect Four. There's cheap versions of Connect Four at the dollar store. But the playing, getting back to the basics, I would say those are things that easy to touch, easy to access. And then I was just going to say, you hear me talk about this all the time. The 4 Agreements by Don Ruiz. If you want me to offer that into this space?
Yes.
So 4 Agreements. If we follow the 4 Agreements, we can cut down a lot of stuff, But the 4 Agreements, make no assumptions. Always and only do your best, even if your best on Tuesday is not the same as your best on Wednesday. Only do your best. Make no assumptions, only do your best. Take nothing personal. You don't know what's going on in someone's head, and yet you're creating, just because they didn't say hi, you don't know that maybe they didn't hear you. Maybe it had nothing to do with you, but the only way you'll know is if you'll have a conversation. So what do we have? Make no assumptions. What did I say? Always and only do your best. Take nothing personal. What's our last one? Speak life. Watch your words. When we say things like, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I want to die. We say that tongue in cheek. However, your brain does not know the difference. And you're constantly, again, it's about that rewiring of the brain. You're speaking things to yourself that is not going to help you. So when I think about resources, I think it's about, let's start with what we have access to just easy right away. Because sometimes if we got to go out, that makes it even worse. Oh, am I going to get to this? But we have it. Everything we need really is right here and right there.
Fully accessible. You don't need a physical building or space for that, yes.
That would be my tips, because that's easy.
Yeah.
That is easy. I know when I connect with clients and there may be something deeper happening there, we're trying to make a plan for something, I always ask them specifically, what part of this plan can you exercise all by yourself? You do not have to wait for your mom to come home in order to do it or see your friend at school. You're not dependent on anybody but yourself in that space. As far as resources go, most of you may know that the Adam H. Board of Franklin County does offer behavioral health services, community behavioral health services across the entire county. And inside of that, we do offer school-based prevention activities across all 16 public school districts that are in Franklin County. So we have a handful of our network providers that are scheduled to be in those districts on a regular basis doing curriculum that promotes, emotional health. So it could be self-emotional regulation, it could be anti-vaping, it could be anti-bullying, be kind, suicide prevention, anti-tobacco use, so on and so forth. And so that's definitely a resource because prevention resources are not just for the children or for the folks that they engage with at school. It's also for the family because we want to delay the onset of a child having a mental illness or addiction. And so by involving our children in those youth experiences at their school, that school-based prevention, absolutely wonderful. Two other things that we have are our website. If you go to Adam H's website and click on resources and just drag down, there'll be a link there for school services. And so parents and families can go there and see all of the services that we offer. And it even goes granular into each specific district, the types of curriculum that happen in that building on a regular basis. So. And we have our provider directories that are newer, that just came out, so I can definitely make sure that you all have some of those. And it has a list of all of our 30 plus network providers who do provide community services at a direct level.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
That is fantastic. And so I will ask one final question as we wrap up. So how can we, or final words, how can we reduce the stigma around mental illness and encourage open conversation?
Well, we already started it.
Yes.
And I didn't add mine. I proudly go to a therapist. She is right there if I need to call and set something up. It's nothing, we're okay with talking about going to the doctor, to the dentist. It's no different. Your brain is in your body. You need that. So just talking about it, it's okay. And I do take an antidepressant. And that's why I'm able to sit here and have fun with you all. Yes, and that's why I'm able to do my job well. Because it's okay, you talk about your Tylenol and your Advil, it's the same thing. So I think that's one way is let's remove the shame, and that starts with you. Shame is the lowest emotion. You can't do so much. When you're under a cloud of shame, you can only go so far. So let's just start with you. Stop judging. How about that one? So there it is. That's mine.
Let's tackle youth mental health together. Life brings challenges on and off the field. To help kids be resilient, Adam H. partners with local mental health agencies to provide prevention services in Franklin County school districts. With a focus on school-based support, we are giving students the tools they need to overcome obstacles and live their best lives. Learn more about services available in your district at adamhfranklin.org/schools.
Thank you for tuning in to Faces, the show that gives you access to all points Columbus and Columbus City schools.
From our district departments to our community partners, we are bringing our families and community together for a conversation to discover what connects us all, the joy of learning.
Remember, be courageous.
Be yourself. Be the light you wish to see.